Before we start the show, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Their support keeps this show free for you.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, we are back today, and I am taking a little break from parenting, and we are going to discuss menopause today. And I have lovely guest, Julia Granacki. When we met last week and talked about menopause, I was itching to ask her 75,000 questions. So I have saved my questions for today because I know there's lots of people who are struggling with menopause, and I want to get into it. So Julia, will you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. I'm Julia Granacki. I am a board certified health coach. I specialize in menopause and perimenopause. I received my certification from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, my hormone specialty certification also from IIN. And then I have designing a sustainable nutrition plan certification from Harvard Medical School. So
amazing.
That is me. Yeah.
So I want to start out with the controversial issue that we were talking about last week when we met, it's HRT replacement or HRT non-replacement, or everybody's, it's the fight of the century for women over 45.
Totally. Totally. And I would say even younger. So hormone replacement therapy, it's called HRT. It's also referred to as MHT, menopause hormone therapy. So given what's going on in the trans community, I think we're trying to just make it very clear, like which is which and what we're talking about. So everyone's clear, on that, which, by the way, everyone should be reminded that women are not the only people who go through menopause.
Yeah.
Trans men also go through menopause, but that is a separate story. So
okay,
menopause hormone therapy is typically what I call it, MHT. If you're going to do it, you want to start within 10 years of menopause. That means that could be perimenopause. It could be during menopause. It could also be postmenopause. There's a lot of controversy about it, which I think is very unfounded. I'm not sure we need to have this much controversy as you and I talked about. I think people need to do their own thing. There was the Women's Health Initiative study that was done in 2002 that had everybody panicked because of some of the information. A lot of people thought that it was going to cause cancer, among other things, even though up to that point, particularly in the 90s, it was the gold standard of care for menopause.
Right.
So these days, we've got new information. We have found out, in fact, that estrogen-only therapy actually is protective of the breast. If you have a uterus, you have to also take progesterone.
Right.
So if you have a uterus, you're taking progesterone and you're taking estrogen. Progesterone protects the uterus from cancer. We have to take progesterone if we have a uterus. And now we have all these new kinds of progesterone that have, again, lowered the risk of cancer. So we're all very clear for the most part on that, I think. There are still a lot of, I would say, sort of citizens in the world who think that it still causes cancer, but I think most experts can agree that that's not necessarily the case. The controversy, however, seems to be based in this idea that some people are treating or over-medicalizing menopause and treating it as more of a disease versus this natural thing that happens in a woman's life, which I agree with. I think we can all agree that menopause is natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it is something we need to have tools to cope with the symptoms of.
Sure. I mean, I think you have a daughter, right? So
Two.
she's two. There you go. When we got our period, I mean, my goodness, in the 90s, and my mom, it was like, great, good for you, kid. Here's a tampon.
Exactly.
It was not a rite of passage, which, by the way, I think there should be more of that. I think there should be more kind of ceremony around it, a little bit more celebration around these kinds of things. I am all for that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take some Midol if you're having a tough time, right? Like all of these medications or medicine in general is available to us. These things that we've come to discover to make our lives better are there to make things easier, to make things better. You don't have to take any of it. If you don't want to take a leave for a headache, don't take it. If you don't want to take menopause hormone therapy, don't take it. You will have a perfectly fine life if you don't take it.
Yes.
You will. You'll have a perfectly fine life. From my perspective, if you take it, it could make your life a little bit better. And not everyone needs it in that way, by the way. Not everyone has the kind of symptoms that require treatment, but there are a lot of women out there. 85% of women have symptoms that are disruptive to their lives, and you shouldn't have to live that way.
No, I mean, I started having symptoms, I think around 45, and it was debilitating, and I needed help. I couldn't manage. And I think there's many of us out there who don't know where to start. So where should we start?
So believe it or not, I think a great place to start is with menopause hormone therapy. Because you have a limited amount of time to make that decision about whether you're going to do it or not, I always say you have to answer the question. Do you like how I did that? The estrogen and the question. You need to answer the question, which is to take it or not to take it, right? That's first and foremost. Answer the question. If you decide it's something that you want to do, then the hard stuff begins. It's like finding the right practitioner, which can be very challenging. Yeah. Very small percentage of doctors who receive actual training during medical school in menopause. Most people, particularly OBs, they're there for you during your childbearing years. So a lot of women encounter a situation like I did where you went to your OB for 5,000 years. They got you through maybe childbirth and 500 other ailments having to do with your vagina, your uterus, your ovaries, all the things. You hit menopause and they're like, sorry, that's just life. Have a great day, And so a lot of women find themselves in a situation where they need to switch doctors. And that's okay. I mean, OBGYNs are very good at what they do, and we need their services, and they need to focus on that.
On their specialty, yeah.
Finding the right kind of practitioner can be the next challenge. And the best way to do that is to go to the menopausesociety.org, where you can type in your zip code, and they will bring up certified menopause specialists who have received certification and training through the Menopause Society.
Yes.
And obviously, another great thing to do would be to work with someone like me. I will guide you through the process. Yeah. But I would say that's the first place to start, is with MHT, answering that question. And then we get into exercise and nutrition and all of those requirements that all just kind of, hopefully in a perfect world, create some kind of harmony with what's going on.
If you could recommend just the top 3 things you think women who are going through menopause should do.
Yeah, 100%. So answering the MHT question, whatever that's going to be, dialing in your sleep, which, listen to me.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, right? Everyone's like, you got to get more sleep.
I got this Aura Ring thing. And I'm like, wait, I was in bed 8 hours. Why did I only sleep 6?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
And listen, it is the biggest complaint I hear from people. It was what sent me off the deep end. It was the whole reason why I figured out what was going on and got certified, was because at the age of about 38, 39, I just stopped sleeping.
Yeah,
I just stopped sleeping.
Not fun.
Not fun. It's very disruptive. You can't function without sleep. How are we supposed to be high functioning human beings if we don't?
Well, also, we didn't sleep when our kids were infants, right? We didn't sleep. And then finally we're like, oh, they're 6, they're 5, they're 7. I'm sleeping. And then they turn 12 and you stop sleeping again. And you're like, wait, no.
And then your ovaries are like, no, just kidding.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just joking. Yeah. So dialing in sleep is,
Okay.
practicing proper sleep hygiene. There's
Yep.
a whole method to it. And listen, sometimes even when you do all the things, you don't sleep as well, right? So that's when we may, and not always, we might want to have a pharmaceutical intervention. What does that look like?
Mhm.
It could be herbal allies. It could be adaptogens, for example, but it
Right.
could also be some kind of sleep aid that makes the most sense for you. And that's
Yeah.
up to you and your doctor to decide what that looks like.
We are going to take a short break from our show to hear from our sponsors. Without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring you the Peace and Parenting podcast free of charge. So I'll see you back in just a few minutes. My sweet Esme has eczema and super sensitive skin, and it's not easy finding products that actually work for tough stains, but are also not irritating to the skin. That's why I switched to Blue Land. Their products are made to meet the highest environmental standards. Their products are not just clean, they're mom clean. Blue Land products are 100% plastic-free and made with certified clean ingredients that are safe to use around family, pets, and plants in the house. You don't have to choose between the safe option and what really gets your house clean. Blue Land products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands and are free from dyes, bleach, and harsh chemicals. And Blue Land is trusted in over 1 million homes, including mine. I love the dishwasher tablets. They leave my dishes really clean, and I don't even need to use rinse aid. Blue Land has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/peace. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/peace for 15% off. That's blueland.com/peace. Are you a mom who feels like you're juggling it all, but something just feels off? It could also be your hormones causing this chaos. Hormone Harmony contains science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. Now, here's the beauty of adaptogens. They help the body adapt to any stressors like chaotic hormonal changes that happen naturally throughout a woman's life. That's why Hormone Harmony is perfect for women of all ages who are struggling with life-disrupting symptoms such as PMS, like irritability, moodiness, discomfort, or uncontrollable cravings, and menopause, with symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats. The results are impressive. There are over 40,000 reviews on their website. Women cannot stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. So for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code PEACE. Check out happymammoth.com. Use the code PEACE for 15% off today. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. Now back to the show.
Do you like adaptogens? I think I like them. What is your thought on adaptogens?
So from a personal perspective, not speaking as a health coach, as a personal thing, I do enjoy them. I do a little rashi, I think it is, and like lion's mane in my coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
From a health coaching perspective, I would say that that's a discussion to have with your doctor. They're not approved by the FDA, but there's a lot of great evidence out there
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that supports that it does some good things for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But that would be an example. So you're talking pharmaceutical, you're talking maybe a herbal ally, depending. And then the third thing would be exercise.
Yeah. And I feel like exercise has changed so much for me as I've gotten older, even in I'm 52. So even in the last 2 years, I feel like I used to be cardiovascular banana nut cakes needed to get there, or I was not going to sleep at night. I was not going to live. And now I can't do it. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so I've totally backed off and gone to this whole, I hike with a vest, a weighted vest, a yoga, but I've calmed myself way down.
I love that you mentioned the weighted vest. I am very pro weighted vest. If you find yourself cleaning the house, walking your dogs, doing chores, put on your weighted vest. It helps with bone density. As we age, I'm also a Pilates instructor, I should add. But as we age, we are more at risk. We think within the first 2 years of menopause, first 5 years of menopause, we are at risk for developing osteoporosis.
Oh, wow.
It's extremely common. And it is the sole contributor, usually pretty much, to osteoporosis. Estrogen fixes that right up. So if you want to avoid osteoporosis, MHT is a really good option. Second to that, again, if you don't want to do MHT, you have got to do weight-bearing exercises.
Yeah.
You have to lift weights, and wearing a weighted vest is a great way to build bone density. So
Yeah.
yes,
I wear it to the grocery market. I wear it to the farmer's market. My daughters are like, take the vest off.
I can't believe you don't see them everywhere. I see them a lot here in New Jersey.
Yeah, we don't see them so much in LA. We're pretty vain around here, I think.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Okay, good. So exercise, answering the big question, and sleep.
And sleep for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I would say to second that, exercise can be very complicated. You just said it changed for you. We have to listen to your body. Our bodies change and evolve over time. And a lot of younger women, I think, are killing themselves with cardio, right?
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you're like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I don't know. Look, there are plenty of influencers out there and health kind of like gurus out there who are going to have very strong opinions about what you should be doing.
Yeah.
I think you should do what is best for you. And then you should add lifting weights to whatever that looks like. We want to get good cardiovascular health, which means you need to get your heart rate up. So that's part of it. But we do need to lift weights, build bone density, do Pilates because, right, that's going to keep you strong, strengthen your core, your pelvic floor, all of those things that you need. And also we want to maintain flexibility in our joints.
Yeah. I think that was
yoga. Great. Yes.
Yeah. The biggest thing that happened to me too was my hip started to really hurt. And I heard that's a symptom of, can be a symptom of just declining health, but can also be a symptom of menopause.
Could be a symptom of menopause. I mean, I could go in, hips could be a lot of things. Again, I don't know you. I can't diagnose you. I'm not a doctor. Yeah. But there are a few conditions that we are at risk of, particularly when we approach menopause. And two of those weird things are frozen shoulder, also known as adhesive capsulitis. Okay. Yeah. And then there's something called gluteal tendinopathy, which can present as hip pain, both of which can be treated, but frozen shoulder is the worst.
I know my best friend has frozen shoulder and I have the gluteal whatever. And
tendinopathy.
And I think I'm like, we're both just a mess.
It's really hard. I mean, the frozen shoulder is the worst because I don't know if anyone listening out there, I mean, I have to tell you, I inform people they have it all the time as a Pilates teacher. And they think that they're like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. And I'm like, that's not normal.
No, yeah. You should be able to put your shirt on still.
Yeah. And do your bra and like get the glass out of the cupboard. So if anyone's listening, if you have frozen shoulder or think you have frozen shoulder, you do not have to live that way. There are treatments that you can pursue that can fix it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God. Amazing. Yeah. When I figured that hip thing out, I was like, oh, thank God. I thought I was going to be like this, golden retriever who had to get hip surgery at 52. I was like, no, this cannot be my life. But yeah, I think that's a huge revelation for people. What other symptoms do you see that people, might miss as menopause symptoms?
Oh my goodness. Anxiety, an increase in anxiety. That really shocked me when I hit menopause. You could check out my blog. I wrote a whole story about this.
Great.
But I spent like the first year of being married, and I knew my husband for 5 years before we got married, and married for a year. And I was convinced that he was going to die. As in, I would go to work. And I worked in the city. I would get on the train. I'd have my walk home. I would hear sirens and I'd be like, he's dead. He's on the floor. The sirens are coming to my house. I mean, just spinning out discursive thoughts that were just cuckoo crazy for Cocoa Puffs. Nothing I had ever experienced before. Bananas. And that drop in estrogen can raise anxiety. So I was lucky. I saw a really good shrink. We kind of did some of the cognitive behavioral therapy to work on that. Eventually started taking menopause hormone therapy, and all of these things started to help with my anxiety.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is having like itchy ears and dry skin and like tingling in your fingers. There are so many weird symptoms out there. I kind of feel like if you've never had it before and it seems strange, it's probably menopause.
Yeah, I think so too. And when you're taking hormones, I didn't ask my doctor this, but do you just continue to take them forever?
That's a great question.
Because I'm like, wait, I'm on hormones. Am I going to take this till I die? Like, what's happening?
So this is another controversial topic.
Okay, good.
So the Menopause Society, again, if you ever have questions, the Menopause Society is great. They have a whole tab
Great.
that you click on that is basically like for people like in menopause, here you go. And then there's a part for like professionals, a little bit of both. So you can go there and it'll give you the latest guidelines. So the way that they put it is basically there's no reason to stop taking it ever unless you have a health event or health issue. So we will, you continue to take it. You will continue to check in with your doctor as things evolve, and you will address those things accordingly.
Do you see people start to take more and more of these hormones as they get older? Or you just kind of stay on the same level and that's fine?
So when we start taking menopause hormone therapy, they start you at the lowest milligram,
Right.
which I believe is, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I think it's 0.5.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you start at 0.5, and depending on how you respond to the menopause hormone therapy, they may increase it. So if you're on it and it's not really doing anything for you, you're still having a lot of hot flashes, for example, they may bump you up to 1. And then the highest that they're going to prescribe is 2.
Okay.
And let me just say, that is still not the amount of progestin and estrogen that you find in the birth control pill. So people still think, they seem to think that it's this enormous amount of hormones that you're taking, but it still does not compete with the nuclear bomb of hormones that you take when you take the birth control pill.
Right.
I feel like that helps put things more in perspective. Right.
But they've got all different kinds of pills now too, those birth control pills. There's like these very low, because I know years ago they put me on a very low dose one.
Mm-hmm.
And I could barely even tell I was taking it at the time.
Yeah, there's just so many new products on the market, which I think is great because women need as many options as possible. But yeah, you've got your low dose birth control pill. You've got kind of like your regular estrogen, progesterone. You've got the progesterone only, which you can buy over the counter, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah. What about testosterone? Now I've heard, but there's this big, there's a lot of hubbubaloo about testosterone. Everybody's talking about testosterone and sex drive and that whole thing.
Another great question. So happy to talk about it. All right. So yes, there's a lot of controversy over testosterone. As of right now, testosterone is not prescribed to women for hormone therapy. If it is prescribed, it is off-label. We all know what off-label means, right?
Yep.
And if you're getting it, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get depending on the doctor that you see.
Yeah.
Okay. And it could be given to you one of two ways. Either you're going to get it from a compounded pharmacy, which fine, or you're going to get, it's typically a gel, which is what men take, right? When men have low testosterone, they are prescribed testosterone. It comes in a gel, and we take, a teeny tiny little bit as opposed to like the whole tube, which is what men take because we don't want to grow chest hair and mustaches.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, for you and your doctor to work out how much you take.
Yeah.
Now, because a woman's libido is not a priority, there has not been any testing on testosterone and its effect on the female body and what happens when we supplement with it.
Men were smart. They would get some testing on the women's libido because that might help them all out.
100%. And look, like these days, it is because it's more of a topic. It is mostly prescribed off-label for hyposexual disorder, which means low libido, right?
Yep.
So the hope is that the more we talk about it, someone will get some funding because you have to have money to do the testing. So hopefully we'll get funding and they'll do some testing, and then we'll have some concrete evidence where we can get FDA approved, covered by insurance, prescribed testosterone, because there are other things we think it does that's helpful, but we don't know for sure, right?
Okay.
There's definitely some, and when I say evidence, I want to say not through testing, but what people have said, because it's all we have to go on right now,
right?
That it helps with joint pain and brain fog and some other things. But again, I can't say for sure because there's no published paper on this. This is just going by what people have experienced, which you can't poo-poo that, in my opinion.
And if there's enough of it, then hopefully it will generate some interest in a real study.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Well, I know a lot of my friends have the gel, right? And they they've used it, and I've been listening and watching and whatever, and it's very interesting what people are reporting back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag, right? Of whether it works or not and what it works for. And then I would also tell listeners that if you have low libido, there's different sort of degrees of that. And this is to really, again, talk to your doctor. Also, seeing like a sex expert is not a bad thing. That's always a positive thing. But you've got like that feeling of, for lack of a better term, I forget what it's called. Spontaneous desire. That's the medical term, spontaneous desire. The layman term is being horny. Okay, right? When you're being horny, okay, that's spontaneous desire, right? Okay, so that there's that, and then there is the inability to climax during sex, which you maybe were able to do in the past, and you can no longer do that now. So there's all these different facets of what low sex drive looks like. Which is why it's important to have those discussions, with your doctor and figure out the best approach. Because there's other medications. There's Addy, which is out there. It's a pill you take, like a Viagra kind of a thing.
My friend's taking that. Yeah.
Which you take every night before you go to bed. Yep. I tried it. Didn't work for me, but boy, did it help me sleep at night.
Okay, fair enough. It's my sleeping pill.
Totally, to the extent where I almost stayed on it because I was like, well, but it's really helping with my sleep. Maybe I'll just stay on it, right? And then there's Vyleesi, which is an injection. It's an injectable, which I don't know much about, but there's options out there. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So much good information, Julia. Okay, one last thing. Anything else you think us novice menopausers or soon-to-be menopausers should know?
Sure. If you are not in perimenopause yet, so if you're younger, you need to start preparing for this now. So dialing back alcohol consumption, getting enough exercise, getting as much sleep as you can, and really taking care of yourself so that as you transition, you're going to have a better, easier time. And get the education, do the research so that you know what to do when you get there.
Yeah.
For people who are in it or don't know if they're in it, you don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
You don't have to suffer. You can choose to either medicate or not medicate, or choose certain lifestyle things or nutrition interventions. All of these things are great options that are going to help you get through it. And then obviously talking about it and connecting to community is also very important so that you feel less alone, because we're all going through this.
Yeah.
It is inevitable.
Yeah, we will we are either going through it or we're soon to go through it, or we will have gotten through it.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct.
Where can people find you, Julia?
You can find me at juliagwellness.com. And I am now running a special for intake. So if you come to see me, we would set up a free Zoom where we just kind of talk. We get to know each other, see if it's a good match. From there, you do an intake session with me, which is an hour-long session where we go through all of your medical history, which is, all the stuff.
Wow.
And then we would go into sort of maintenance sessions from there, which are 45 minutes, usually every other week. And I would say if you're highly motivated, people work with me for about 3 months. That's all it really takes, honestly, to get yourself into gear, unless you have other health issues, in which case it might take a little bit longer, but typically about 3 months. So I am offering a discount right now to your listeners.
Yay!
For your intake session, you will get 25% off. The discount code is PEACE25, and that's capital P for peace, 25.
Great. And they find that on what site?
juliagwellness.com.
Perfect. Well, this was so good. Thank you, Julia.
You're so welcome.
A little more informed.
I'm so glad.
Okay,
that's what I'm here for.
Yes. Okay. Thank you guys for being here and for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Hey there, Peace and Parenting family. If you love the podcast but wish to enjoy it without interruptions, your wish has come true. Introducing the ad-free version of the Peace and Parenting podcast, available exclusively on Apple Podcast. As a subscriber, you'll get all the heartfelt advice, parenting stories, and actionable tips you love without any ads. For less than the cost of a coffee each month, you will enjoy uninterrupted listening while also supporting our work to help you build stronger connections with your kids. Try it out for free. Simply find Peace in Parenting on Apple Podcasts, click Try Free, and you'll gain immediate access to our ad-free episodes. There's no commitment and you can cancel anytime. So if you're ready for a more peaceful, uninterrupted listening experience, subscribe now. Let's keep focusing on connection without the distractions.